So, to a lot of the divestors out there that like to come to my platform and want to deflect and talk about black man this, black man that, and black man with a baseball cap, I need y'all to just shut the fuck up. That's it. Because the end result of this story is that these three young boys, right, or these young boys in general, right, that were her sons, they're going to have to now navigate through the world knowing the fact that their mother allowed a white man to mistreat them, to not feed them, to leave them in darkness, and to also take the life of their brother, which the rest of the living brothers, the rest of the siblings, right, had to watch decompose in an apartment for about 11 months covered in roaches. So before you decide to open your mouth and start talking about black men and what it is that they aren't and are not doing, it'd be great if you could actually, for once in your life, actually take some responsibility and start talking about the stories of a lot of these women who you want to deem and call mothers, who mistreat their black sons and allow their significant other who is not black to do any and every single thing. And also, on top of that, how that black mother will treat that significant other who is not a black man. She will give him the world. She'll do any and everything for him, and then she will disregard her black sons as if they were trash, just like this mother did. New intro. So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2 year period plus that I've been doing this. Thank you for showing your love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you. These are the only words Harris County Sheriff's Eddie Gonzalez could use on Wednesday to sum up the unexpected horrors that his deputies encountered 3 days ago. Quote, "It seemed too horrific to be real." Inside an apartment at the City Park, number 2, at West Oaks apartment, whose website promises unparalleled living set within surroundings of beautiful landscaping. Three innocent children were living in unspeakable conditions. Flies and cockroaches swarmed the unit. Carpets were soiled, and there wasn't a single piece of furniture, and the children were forced to sleep on the floor with no bedding. Three brothers, ages 15, 9, and 7, were malnourished, suffered physical abuse, and hadn't been to school in more than a year. The two youngest had been locked inside of an apartment, banned from leaving, presumably so that no one would alert the authorities to the fact that they were alone. The eldest would leave the home to pick up food for his brothers from kind neighbors who took pity on him and let him charge his phone when the electricity was cut off. This alone was enough to warrant the home being dubbed the House of Horrors, and for the officers involved to describe it as the most disturbing incident they've worked in their entire law enforcement careers. But inside the home was even more heartbreaking discovery was made. The three children were living with the skeletal remains of their 8-year-old brother, who is said to have been savagely beaten by their mother's boyfriend around Thanksgiving of last year. According to the surviving children's accounts heard in court Wednesday, Brian Coulter punched and kicked their brother Kendrick Lee until he stopped moving. His body was then covered in a blanket and left to rot for the next 11 months. Meanwhile, Mr. Coulter and the mother of the four children, Gloria Williams, allegedly moved to another apartment away from the rotting corpse of their murdered child, leaving the surviving children with no one but each other to fend for their survival. Tuesday, Mr. Coulter was charged with Kendrick's murder and Miss Williams was charged with injury to a child by omission and tampering with a human corpse. Family had been known to Child Protective Services in the past. None of the children had been to school since May of 2020, and neighbors in the busy 192-unit apartment complex had reported a foul smell and had been feeding the starving 15-year-old, but somehow the children and their horrific existence managed to slip through the net. Horrific new details of the alleged murder of the 8-year-old boy were revealed during Miss Williams' initial court appearance. The court heard the harrowing first-hand accounts of the two youngest boys as they allegedly witnessed their brother's murder last November. Both had told investigators that they were in a room when Mr. Coulter repeatedly punched and kicked Kendrick to death. The 9-year-old stated that he saw the 31-year-old beat his brother in his face, feet, legs, back, testicles, and buttocks, carrying on even after he had stopped moving and stopped blinking. His 7-year-old brother recalled how Mr. Coulter allegedly stared him in the eyes while he violently attacked Kendrick, who was in a heap on the floor. Mr. Coulter then covered his brother, whose eyes were black and unblinking from the beating, with a blanket. The court heard how the 9-year-old told officers his mother cried when she saw what happened, and she and Mr. Coulter got into a fight. The two younger boys both described in chilling detail seeing their sibling's body decompose, with the 9-year-old describing how his body was a skeleton and his hair was off, while the 7-year-old recalled looking under the blanket and seeing Kendrick covered in cockroaches. So I'm pretty much done with reading this story because there's nothing else that I need to read. But let me just read this one last part because there's always somebody that wants to show up and body block, right? They also stated that the mother who married her son's alleged killer, right? The Harris County Sheriff's deputy, Eddie Gonzalez, stated that in a press conference that there was no evidence that Mrs. Williams was also a victim of abuse by her boyfriend. Let me repeat that one more time. Harris County Sheriff Eddie Gonzalez stated in a press conference that there was no evidence that Miss Williams, the black woman that you see directly in front of you in the picture next to McLovin, was also a victim of abuse by her boyfriend. But instead of reporting her son's death, Miss Williams allegedly moved out of the apartment and away from the rotting corpse to set up a new home for his alleged killer. Officials stated that the couple moved to a property around a 25-minute drive away, roughly 5 or 6 months after Kendrick's death. Miss Williams then appears to have married her son's alleged killer soon after. On the 18th of June, she changed her Facebook status to married. She also added a new cover photo of her with Mr. Coulter and a new profile picture of two of her sons. The 35-year-old is believed to have at least 6 children, with the two others not living with her at this time of Kendrick's death. So, to all of those divestors directly out there that like to come through on my platform and they like to, say a variety of different things. Um, I want to know, what do you have to say about this? Because you can't say that she was an abuse victim because police literally told you that there's no type of findings to say that she was abused. So you can't say, oh, battered woman syndrome and all this. You can't even state none of that here. You can't even say none of that here because on top of that, she then on her own accord married him, moved to a whole nother apartment with the same person that took the life of her son, which she knows about, which she quote unquote was angry and she had a fight over and all this other stuff, right? They argued, right? Moved away from the rest of her kids that were stuck in that apartment with no electricity, no food, left there with a rotting corpse, proceeded to get married to the killer, and then updated her Facebook profile, had a tattoo of family over everything, right? And then she decided to post pictures of her two other sons. Ain't that something? They both should get the death penalty. They both should get the death penalty. There is no ifs, ands, or buts directly about it. This makes no type of sense at all. No type of sense. And I promise you, and the saddest thing about this, no matter how these young boys were treated, they would still view that woman as their mother. And people don't even understand what that means. No matter what a woman does to a child, that child will always run back to that woman and consider them the mother. A mother can do no wrong. This black woman allowed this white man to beat these kids that weren't even his. She allowed him to mistreat them, to have them malnourished, to take the lives of one of her kids, leave them in a roach infested squalor of an apartment, so much so that they, the two adults, decided to, move and, start anew and get married. And then y'all got the nerve to roll up here and always want to talk about, you know, black men and what black men aren't doing, and how you have a lot of black women out here doing the work and, and leading and all of these things. But then I show you videos and stories about black women just like this, who aren't even women, who aren't even mothers, but yet for some odd reason they still get, called, mothers. They still get called, you know, anything that's positive. She allowed her boyfriend to take the life of her child. The man that she worshiped, because she suffers from, you know, self-esteem, low self-esteem, and, more than likely body image and stuff like that. Because in some type of way, you know, he made her feel good. He made her realize that in some type of sick way that she was loved. She allowed this man to abuse all of her kids. And she still decided to get married to him. And she got lesser charges, I guess. I guess. Like I said, I don't got nothing to say really. I don't, because I'm pretty sure the divestors, they'll roll up here and they'll deflect and they'll start talking about stories of what this black man did and look at this black man over here and black man, black man, black man, black man. But yet, when you go to a lot of those divestor platforms where they always negatively talk about black men, and they always want to boast and put up all of these other men of different ethnicities on these pedestals, they never really talk about these stories of how black women who want to be everywhere else but with their own, how they divest and how they allow these things to take place. And if they do talk about it, then they want to start talking about, well, that the person had, mental this and mental that, and, maybe she was abused and maybe she was given all of the excuses in the world as to why it is that it was okay to, in a sense, justify it and to try to absolve the responsibility away from the mother who is a black woman. But then within the same breath, want to turn around and blame the black fathers for allowing this to happen because of X, Y, and Z. And people wonder why it is that the black community ain't really making it. Like I said, my condolences to the brothers who had to basically live with the body of their rotting brother in a room that was covered in roaches, being eaten for 11 months, body decomposing, smelling to high heavens, not being able to have any type of food. Like I said before, what I'm trying to get people to understand is, if their mother, who was a black woman, treated them like this, and this is the interaction that they saw their mother deciding to not even be with a black man, decided to be happy with somebody else, and treat this man better than her own sons. Love this man better than her own sons, right? Gave that man the world. And she left them in squalor, left them in darkness, left them without food. If that's what that black woman did to them, how do you think that the rest of those young boys are going to perceive black women as they get older? Think about that.